All right, what is going on, everybody? I'm Dr. Festa Luigi, and today we are going to be creating the UNU Mastodon XL, sponsored by Enter the Strange. So let me just edit the event real quick with the live stream link. Sweet. All right, so we can go ahead and get started. So, this is going to be a quick, not a quick, a pretty casual stream where I'm just going to be making the UNU Mastodon XL. Anyone who has been part of UNU for a while knows this basic concept. It's nothing too crazy. I'm just making a model. So we'll go ahead and get started. And if you're not familiar with making models for MTS, this could kind of be seen as a tutorial. Also, it's a great just behind the scenes thing to kind of see everything that's going on. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and just jump into it. UNU Civil Pack, UNU Vehicles. This is how I got everything organized. All right. There it is. Actually, I don't need to do that. Let me make a whole copy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just start with the pickup. And this is the fun part. I forget exactly how I name everything. Okay, just contract, just XL. All right. Easy peasy. Done. All right, so then we'll go ahead and set up the parts. I'm also going to be, what is going on? We got some people in chat, Blue Shift and Laura, of course. Laura's always a loyal viewer of these things. Fellow content pack creator. All right, so I'm also going to create some vintage truck wheels, something I've wanted to do for a while. Basically just a narrower version of the Bud wheels. Truck and vintage. The vintage truck wheels aren't going to be that crazy. There's going to be a narrower version. All right. Now, one thing that's kind of a little behind the scenes thing here. I've been working on porting my stuff over to Flansmod. And Flansmod is a little weird with wheels. You can't just rotate them. Like, for example, this piece is just rotated over here. You can't do that because Flansmod sets all the angles to 0 so that it can do its internal rotations. So you'll notice this piece is not rotated. It is a very, very fancy shape box. And if you are familiar with Fex's modeling software, that's nothing new. I did this with Excel because I don't use Fex's software. Mostly because I'm used to this software, and also his kind of has the color scheme of a motel room, in my opinion. Those are the vibes I get from it. But yeah, so I'm just gonna make this 1 pixel narrower. All right. Laura's all excited because of the Has-Been Hotel. I saw about that got finally released, so I'll have to catch that one. Okay. So I'm just gonna tweak all this just so it's a little more in line. So because of that, I was talking about how the wheels are like rotated all special, right? Instead of They're rotated with the model instead of with an angle. And so because of that, I also just completely reorganized the UV map for the wheels. That way they're more consistent, mainly for flange mods, so I can mix and match different rims and whatnot, rims and tires. And so the rim UV map is a 16 by 16 up in this corner, tire is in this corner, hub is in this corner, and then hubcap is in this corner. Yeah, so that's kind of the idea there. Of course, I could get with the program and use Blockbench, but I can't stand Blockbench. The way it works with moving stuff around, does not work with my brain and how I make models. So maybe at some point, I actually have a friend, Oracle, friend of the channel. If anyone is familiar with the old SMP days, he was on that. That's actually how we first met. There we go. And he's just an amateur software developer, so I've actually recruited him to see if he can make a plugin for Blockbench that kind of adapts it to the toolbox scheme of box manipulation. So we'll see if that works. He's, from what I know, he's pretty skilled, so I'm hopeful. All right, now we're cruising right along on this thing here. I kind of want to do, oh, yes, transparent side there. I'll fix that. All right, there we go. Very cool. All right, now we've got our vintage thing. I think just to, never mind. That doesn't look very good with the distortion. But yeah. Okay. So there is our vintage wheel. So I'm gonna export the texture. And then that way I can modify here to just get rid of the bits that don't need to be there. All right, let's catch it up on chat. Oh yeah. Now Laura knows I'm a Has Been Hotel fan. The Alistair, the radio guy, is like total UNU vibes for me. Like every single line that he has is just banger. So I'm a fan of Alistair. I'll need to catch the series, see how that is looking. All right, I'm gonna move this UV map off screen just so I can. Okay. I'm actually watching The Walking Dead. My brother and I watched it back in the day, but I've been catching up on it because we were at like season 9, so now we're at season 11, which I think is unfortunately the last season. It's a bummer because it's a fun show. But anyway, so spoilers for The Walking Dead, but there's this character, Hornsby. He's like the second in command type guy for the Commonwealth, which is like this, like industrial, like a very like organized settlement. And that guy, Hornsby, is like total Derek Amison UNU energy. With just like the smile that hides just sinister intent. That is total UNU. And I love it. I'm a Hornsby fan. All right, and then I'll go ahead and copy this for the rim here. All right, boink. So then here's this. So I just cut out all these little pieces here that aren't relevant. So import. Yeah, anyway, that's that. Alright. Alright, so Ivan on the chat's asking if how to integrate some car models he's designed, doesn't know how to make them work in MTS. So that's understandable. MTS isn't the easiest thing to get into. So there we go. Everything's the texture map's all cropped out. I like to do that just to keep things clean. I try not to have random texture stuff that doesn't apply. I almost want to make this like dome here flatter. Let's see if I can do that. But yeah, so if you use UNU parts, I definitely we have a lot of resources to kind of help you integrate your model into MTS or immersive vehicles. But yeah, I kind of exclusively offer help to UNU parts customers because I don't have the most time in the world. Okay, and then yeah, The Walking Dead, getting rid of Rick, that was a rough one. I hear he comes back, but I think season 11 is the last one, so that's kind of sad. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll go with this. I think I'll make this a little flatter, just because it kind of gives it a little bit of a differentiation from the default bud wheel. Okay, so then I need to modify this as well. So this is 3 tall, I think. So yeah, it was half, so I think it's going to be a third now. Look at that. I don't even have to do the math. I just know. I'm a genius. Oh, that one's a little different up there. I spoke a little too soon. So this has a 1.5. So then let's go ahead and take a fourth of that. That's what it should be, and then minus 0.5, so 125. Up here. Alright, so yeah, this is a 0.66. This is something else. 625. Which is close, but not perfect, and I like perfection. There we go. Alright, see, chat's actually kind of popping off a little bit. Alright. Huh. Nice. Laura's already working on another body kit. That's great. Okay. So we just gotta do this here. And yeah, Hellhound's a good name. It reminds me of watched, what was it? Good Omens. That's a good one. That was a show where, like, in the first part I was just completely lost, but then in like the second half everything made sense. Which I kind of think is the intent, or at least I'd like to think that. Alright. Very cool. This is ready to rock. Alright. Very nice. There is the vintage rim. Has a nice distinctive look. You can tell it's the same, but it's just a little different, which is nice. Alright, to export. And let me play with some tread options here before that. Nah. Alright, file, export is OBJ model. Keep this open because I'm going to use it. Alright, copy this. Alrighty. There's the rim color, and then we'll just paint all the purple. That. Boom, just like that. Wheel texture's done. Alright. Another reason why I am doing the tire and rim thing separately is for another UNU project that is, I think I've revealed it to the pay to win channel, but we'll see. Okay. So we'll go ahead and export the rim first. Military, there we go. Wheel, truck, vintage. Well, now that I think about it, wheel, standard. It's just called the vintage wheel. Alright. I was thinking about maybe making a vintage Dayton rim, but I don't think that's really necessary. I always forget how my tires are centered off the top of my head. I believe it's the front face, but I just like to make sure. Tire, truck. Yeah, it's the front face. That's one of my little cheats. I'll move it to where it should be, like close, and then I'll multiply it by 16 to see what like the exact is. And then, so it's like, for example, when I move it here, it's like, it's right about there. And so this is not exact, and that's not quality UNU. So I multiply by 16, and I can see, it's negative 1.5. There we go. Bingo, bango, bongo. All right, export. Tire. Ooh, I don't think the vintage wheels have been V6'd yet, which makes sense. Alright. Wheel. Tire. Alrighty. And then we'll go to the old media, pictures, renders, modeling thumbnails, using parts. Oh, I don't have a wheel one. Oh yeah, part wheel. There we go. Okay, file, import. All right. Bingo, bango, bongo. Save as image. And then I can get rid of these here. And just like that, I have the tire. Perfect. Alrighty. So there's that. So that's the first part done. Yeah. So Laura is pointed out how we use the same Blender version. It is the true version of Blender. Alright, so then we'll go to modeling. Grab this guy for later. Alright, so for those of you that are not familiar, the XL is basically the truck variant of a vehicle. And so the XLs use essentially the cab of the main vehicle and then the generic UNU truck chassis. Now, I think the contractor I had to modify from my toolbox file, so I'm going to check that really quick. Because when I initially made all of them, they were all a little different. That's why there's no truck chassis. They all use leaf suspension parts because there is no consistency in those, where the engine is placed and how wide the axles are and whatnot. There is consistency in terms of like a general theme, but there's no consistency in like how there is with the Baron versus the Director and Corsair, and those all use like the same chassis, just slightly modified. So I had to it was the same thing with the XLs. But in order for all the beds and everything to work really well together, I had to make them consistent. And so there are some tweaks that were made, so I want to see what those are. Before I copy a chassis, you know. Alright, contractor. I'm looking right at it there. Yeah, so Laura is talking about the difference, old blender and new blender. For me, it's really just, I mean, I'm used to, I'm used to what I'm used to. So yeah, these suspension parts are not consistent with the actual suspension parts. So though this was all tweaked, I think this was made. Maybe this is the same, but the suspension isn't. So we'll go ahead and plus those use Dayton wheels. So I'll probably have to pull it off the camel. Yeah, so this is more consistent with it. The leafs are a higher pitch, the axle is underneath the mount, and these are embedded into the frame. So this is pretty close to, well, this is basically the XL chassis. So yeah, basically take this chassis and throw the Mastodon body on it and call it a day. But of course, just like everything, it is not that simple. So let's just jump into it. One good tool is this whole visibility thing. So I can just make everything that I want to keep invisible. So I'll select all the drill head, and of course the engine is part of that. So I'm just going to steal this chassis, throw it under the Mastodon, and that will be our starting point. And we'll see what we end up keeping. Yeah, one of the reasons why I stick with this Blender version is I've deluded myself into thinking that I'm going to do animations at some point, and there's a whole animation tutorial that I watched that is in this Blender version. Plus, with all my rendering for making the thumbnail icons for the different items is all set up for this Blender version. It uses I think it's Cycles renderer, and I don't want to even bother trying to figure out how to adapt that to the new version. So yeah, this is the fun part here. Just selecting all these parts. Part of me wants to make the UNU Mastodon use just a normal engine instead of the diesel engine. Because back in the day, like even up into World War II, the trucks just used normal engines. It had things like a 2-speed rear end and whatnot to compensate. But the UNU Solenodon uses the diesel engine, so it doesn't make sense why they would just go back. So I'll probably just use this engine unless there are serious fitment issues. But I don't think so. Slight modifications are necessary for the XL versions either way. That's what makes them an XL. Although I'm going to try to use the Mastodon radiator. The quality UNU logos. I might make a 2-speed rear end part. That'd be cool. What about an inline 4 diesel? I kind of just want to stick with a single truck engine for as long as people will let me. That's a little more UNU. Why have a bunch of different, you know, heavy truck engines? Most trucks in the real world use 6 cylinders. So, I don't think this toolbox file has front brake drums. So I may need to add those. All right. Very cool. There's the XL truck chassis. Yeah, these this brake design is old. Let me see if I can find a newer one. I think the Mule has the newer model. All right. Yeah, maybe an inline 4 would make sense for like some construction stuff, but if you look closely at the diesel engine, the cylinders are in banks of 2. So I could make a 4-cylinder diesel engine. Maybe I'll do that down the line, but we'll see. All right. This is a lot of like setting up UNU models. It's just using different things from existing models. It's a great way to, because I like consistency. You know, I like it to all look like it's made by one manufacturer. All right, so these are the newer brake models. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these. I'll just steal the whole rear axle model. Because, yeah, this is not compliant with the current UNU axles. Because these axles are separate parts. So these aren't even going to appear on UNU vehicles. This is all going to get deleted when I make it for UNU. But this is just so that I have the proper model. And so that when I end up doing it for Flange mod, it's all consistent. Consistency is key. I think that's one of the UNU secret ingredients, is the fact that everything is very consistent. Or, you know, I'm curious if people even notice. You know, the average user. I'm sure a lot of the UNU fans in attendance today are notice it, but I think there's a big disconnect, especially within the MTS like main server and just the modeling community in general, of what they notice and what they deem important versus the end user. I think there's a big disconnect on that. All right. It's always funny, that aspect of the MTS modeling community. All right, so there's the new brake model. And it doesn't matter that this UV map is messed up, because I'm going to keep the UV map for the Mastodon and redo the one for the frame, because there are fewer parts to it. Yeah, I always think it's funny. So yeah, Laura agrees with, at least I think Laura said that she agrees with the whole consistency thing, and sadly agrees with the modeling community thing. The disconnect there between what people who are in the modeling community think is important versus what the average user is. Because yeah, I mean, MTS has over 1 million downloads. UNU and the official packs have over 1 million downloads. That's a lot of people. Obviously, it's not 1 million people because people download updates and whatnot. But I think it'd be safe to say, very conservatively, there are 50,000 people that use UNU, and the MTS and whatnot. That's a lot of it's a lot of people, and not only a lot of them want to deal with the intricacies of installing parts and stuff, which is, user friendliness is a core to UNU design, which is why I eventually want to make a manual for every single card. I make those little mini tutorials on my YouTube channel, and I need to make more of. Alright, so the camel, you may notice that the back is narrower than the front, so I'm going to go ahead and undo that for this, for the Mastodon. So just bring this all in line, and I might actually have to make this narrower. Oh, what am I doing? All right. And so here we can see, this is kind of going to get into some of the stuff with how V6 works and whatnot. So you'd see here, these are supports for like the conventional truck bed that Trin and other packs have. And then the frame is separated into different parts. So this is like the middle section that doesn't change. This is the end, and this is the front. But then these sections here, those two are combined. But then this section here changes. So we'll get into that once we actually start the implementation, which is kind of fun. All right, so now we have our chassis. So I think what I'm going to do, select all visible parts, reverse selection. I think file, save as. I'm going to make this its own model. So why not? All right. So now we have the UNU Mastodon, and now we have to strip the frame out from this one. So go ahead and hide all the invisible parts here. And of course the truck bed as well, because that's not going to stay. Now I think the Mastodon truck is different from the other Mastodons and how the rears. Oh wait, no, this is because this doesn't use the chassis. Never mind. I'm considering modifying the UNU Mastodons to all take the same, so they're all the same wheelbase, kind of like a Ford Model A in real life. And then the chassis is static, so you can't actually change it. And redoing it a little bit so that the rather than having these radius rods and like this, they're actually like proper radius rods, more like the Model A, which is why it would be kind of locked in its size. But we'll see. I think I did shorten the radiator, so I'll have to check. I think I made the bottom of the radiator come up a bit because I didn't like it being so tall. Okay. Then I have to find a new place to put these guys. Alright, now we gotta do the fun part of glue gluing Oh man, I have so many tabs open. Also, all right. I'm curious about how like okay, these things, running boards. Just wanted to kind of get a quick look at how that worked. Okay. Maybe it should have well, I guess that wouldn't make sense. But call it the Mastodon AA instead of the XL, but that wouldn't make any sense because it's not the UNU Model A. Although that would make sense lore-wise to call it the UNU Model A, given this is the first UNU, but I think people would have a different association. Okay, I think I'll keep the cab rounded like it is, rather than kind of squaring it off more. Squaring it off more would work better with beds, but I think this is kind of more of a distinctive look, so I think I'll keep this as is. So let's see, how does this look here if I do this? I don't like that. So I may just do that and then kind of clean this up. Solora says they don't all appear to have the same frame size unless the Model T and Model A have different frames. I believe they do. Because I'm in the Ford Model A club, and I am working on building a Model A out of a pile of parts that a club member gave me. And I was curious. I'm like, what frame is this for? And he said, oh, yeah, they're all the same. The only difference between the chassis of different Model A's, at least the typical ones, not the Model AA and stuff like that, but like your typical sedan, truck, Tudor, and all that. The only difference is the rear spring is heavier on the sedan. At least from what my understanding. And yeah, I think I can remove that tunnel, but we'll see. So let's do that for now. Oh, and then that leaves a hole in the floor. Okay. Alright, we're gonna do a little fuckery here just so that I don't have to because one thing I really don't like to do is modify the UV maps when I don't absolutely have to. So nope, this isn't gonna work either. I'm gonna have to just do this properly. Boo. Okay. Alright, there we go. Not too bad, not too bad. Now what I want to do is see if I can work this into the existing UV map, because then I can modify the pickup truck to do this. That way it makes it easier for different beds to work. Alright. So yeah, there are 3 parts here. There we go. Cool. Easy peasy. So yeah, then later if I decide to touch up the Mastodon model, I can just tweak those. Or just paste them in. This color is the worst because it's 128, 128. So when I put the little cursor for painting, basically inverts the color. But when it's this exact color, it doesn't invert. Alright, now for the running boards. Alright, perfect. So now we have that going. So now we're doing pretty good here. Let me go ahead and delete these. They're not really needed anymore. At least these ones aren't. That was back when doors had different positions for open and close. So now you can animate them with the doors. Look at that. Shows how long it's been since I modified this model. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to import the current Mastodon model just so that I can see, yeah, the bottom of the radiator is lined up with the bottom of the frame there. So yeah, this needs to be shortened by 2 pixels. Perfect. So I like that. It just looks so much more proportional. It doesn't make the grill so dominating and stick below the frame. Alright. So yeah, now we've got all this. I can get rid of these radiator hoses. Alright. Get rid of the track. That's odd. These are just core. Alright. Hide the rest of these things. Okay. So now we've got... Where am I going to put these guys? I don't know. Get them out of the way for now. So now we've got... This is essentially what we're going to keep. Now we have these other parts, of course. Some of these aren't going to be used. I don't even know what this is. Oh, that's, I think, the truck bed slot. So yeah, I can actually just delete all these real quick because we're not going to use them. Okay. So now it's time to bring in the chassis. This is a total mess. Where were the front wheels on the Mastodon? $61. And this, I believe, is $80. Don't need this one anymore. Alright, so 70. So not that far off. Alright. I don't think I'm gonna need these hit boxes. I'm gonna try to make the Mastodon stuff all line up, so I think I can get rid of all these. Alright. Make all parts visible. That way I could just get started with a texture here. Because yeah, now it's lined up and it's a starting point. So we'll get some of the basic texture things done here. Alright, so now this can be colored. Alright. And just to clean up the UV map, we'll export it as a texture file template as well. Alright. And then there's a few little updatey things, like making the interior color. I believe it's this guy right here. And then getting rid of the old engine and replacing it with the new engine. Alright, then we can import. Alright, so now we actually have like a coherent model and we know where everything is. Alright, so let's... Okay, so all the existing texture stuff is good. And this is kind of like the most annoying part, is retexturing this stuff. Man, my desk is so squeaky, it's a little annoying. Alright. So parts, auto texture. And I'm going to need to keep this up so I can, well, I guess I should use the mule. That way I have the colors I need. I know, so I remember some of them, like the transmission here. Laura just pointed out that I was missing this part. Okay. Parts. Alright, so then here we've got the UNU Mule. And this is going to kind of be a good place to get all the colors that we need. So we just bam. Alrighty. So then we'll color on these guys. Backing plate. The axle. I do like how UNU has like totally standardized colors, but also sometimes it's a pain to texture because you have to make sure to use the right colors. All right. Like one that I always mess up are the hub and lug nuts. Alrighty. This is the quiet part. I don't think I'm going to use this back bumper. I don't think I'm going to use a back bumper. I think it'll just be flat. Okay, so it looks like this guy here is all textured. That makes it a lot easier. Because now I can actually kind of tell what's what. So then here is the default position for the truck, which I don't want to change because I want the hitboxes and everything to line up. Makes it easier for all the custom parts. That way the only thing I have to change is axle positions and the bed position. So, what do I want to do here? Well, actually, I know what I can start with. These in Flans mod. Well, no, I won't worry about that. Okay. Edit, select all visible parts. I'm going to save right here before I do this. Make all parts visible. Okay. So now let's see where we can go from here. How many drill head parts are there? Drill head part is like what I kind of use for parts that are going to be removed for MTS, so 25. Okay, so only the engine. Good. So step 1, position the engine. And see if I could cram it under the hood more or less unmodified. Oops, I accidentally did that with everything. Okay. Never mind, won't worry about that. Get rid of the old transmission. I'll go get the hood out of here. Excuse me. Alright. I may have to move some of these things. How realistically is this? This isn't even positioned right. Alright. So I can move this over here. Well, actually, the way the pedal is, this would be underneath. So whatever. Alright. Move this up here and out of the way. The battery might have to just move completely. So we'll deal with that later. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete some of this frame stuff. It's going to be replaced. It's no longer needed. All right. Select parts. Now let's see if we can get this in here. Oh, it is just going to fit perfect. Look at that. It fits perfectly in there. That's fantastic. Okay. With room to spare, I could go up like more. I can make it go. I make it fit in there nice and snug. Although the transmission goes into the cab, so let's do this here. All right, that's not too bad. That's actually pretty good. Look at that. The lower radiator hose even is almost lined up perfectly there. All right. All right, so we got Sierra Vanguard popping into the chat. So as Laura just clarified, this is an existing diesel engine that is used in heavy vehicles. So we're making the UNU Mastodon XL, kind of like the Contractor XL. This is basically the truck version. Cool. So yeah, this actually fits in there nice. I mean, there's a little bit of clipping on the bottom, so I might add like a bevel here, but it's not too bad of an issue actually, because inside it's you can't see it. All right, that's nice. So yeah, this actually can just go down one. There's actually an excess of room here. That's pretty cool that we don't even have to modify the engine bay at all. Okay, and this guy is gonna have to come up like so. Oh, I should just make it. I'll just modify this completely here. All right. And just like that, the biggest hard part is done. All right, very nice, very nice. Look at that, it's even hidden by the shrouds. That's perfect. Okay, so now we'll start with bringing the heavy components up, see how those line up. Actually, I'm gonna go bring the wheels in. All right, so we don't need the hubs. Edit, select all visible parts. And what is it for wheels? I think it's just a plain 300. right. So Sierra asks, Mr. Dr. Professor Luigi, what are your views on other packs referencing UNU or having UNU livery? I don't mind that at all, even if it's in a derogatory way. Um, I'm totally fine with other packs referencing UNU. Um, just the main thing is I don't like it when like there's considered like official UNU. Like for example, if they made an ad advertising something as UNU when it isn't. And what the biggest thing that ticks me off is when the UNU logo isn't correct. So this is the UNU logo right here. It's boxy, like the. There are people that will like round it out, and no, that no. This is the UNU logo as it is and always will be. But yeah, for the most part, it's all chill. Go for it. I think Trin has a few UNU libraries. And of course, I reference other vehicle packs in mine. Mostly Trin, I think. I think Trin and Moonspire are the only ones that have references in UNU. And Moonspire is like barely relevant these days, which is kind of sad. All right. So yeah, what I'm doing here is I'm making these instead of making them side to side specific, I'm making them front back specific. This is a flans mod thing. That way, when you shoot the wheel on a flans mod vehicle, the hub is still there. And I accidentally copied, but they'll still rotate. So I am working on updating all my, bringing all my stuff back over to flans. It's just a long and tedious process. The first part of my stream, I'll talk about what I had to do for wheels. Right, there we go. And I'm just gonna make everything visible, because I feel like it. Alright, and then I do this. Yes, one of the things with UNU is the branding. I think that it's my theory that one of the things that makes UNU pretty successful is that I have pretty strict brand guidelines. I work in entrepreneurship as like sort of like a consultant advisor in my off time. It's one of my side hustles, if you will. And so yeah, it's just something that I'm very familiar with like branding and advertising and stuff like that. And so I have a very like you know, there's definitely a flavor to UNU that people can see. And I think that's one of the things that makes it successful. Is it's not just a pack; it's UNU. And other packs have had success. You know, like Trin has done that. They've Trin's done a pretty good job of branding their pack, and I would argue that they do a better job of engaging their community than I do. So, all right, there we go. So file, export, texture file. So right now I'm just updating the UNU Mastodon XL texture file here. So that way the wheels are textured. Alright, so I don't need the UNU mule open up anymore. This can go bye-bye. I think this can go now. This can go. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go AFK for a sec. Alright, I'm back. Okay, so then. And this is what I'm working on. Cool. So file, export as texture file template. And this is, again, this cleans up the texture. Alright, and we're back. And there's the modeled wheel. What the heck? Where does all this stuff go? I exported it. Lame. Alright, well. Guessing it's this one, the smaller one. Nope. This guy? Yes, alright. File, export as texture file. There we go. Okay. Let me pull chat back up so I can actually see. Alright. So big texture, by the way, what's the ppm on the textures if it ain't a trade secret? I'm not sure what you mean by the ppm of the texture. But, so if you can clarify that, I might be able to answer. Alright. So now it's time to actually get the axles onto the truck. So we'll go ahead and start getting that ready. And I will probably, well, no, I can't really do that. So I was going to say I'm going to make them narrower, but I can't really do that if I make the truck beds. If I want to make the truck beds compatible. First, I'll go ahead and copy the wheels to the back. I was surprised that Ender isn't in the chat, given that this is his sponsorship. But maybe he's busy. I didn't announce this super ahead of time. Alright, wheel left back. So this is actually where the wheels are going to sit because they are narrower. So I'm going to have to bring the drums out by 2 pixels. Which would have been easier before. Excuse me. Cool beans. All right, wheel left back. And mirror. I think I forgot to modify some of these parts now that I'm seeing this. Yep, these have not been properly modified. So I'm going to have to modify that on the OBJ as well. I'm just glad I caught this before I did every single wheel. Alrighty. Alrighty. And then fixing it on here. Ah, I knew I left the MTL thing on. Okay. Brother, where the heck is it? There we go. So just get that in. 1 divided by 32. Alright. Alright, there we go. Now it's clean. And it's like it never happened. UNU lore. The most insightful content ever. Or comment ever. Alright. This is the UNU lore the government doesn't want to tell you about. Alright. Doom, 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 doom. No, 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 no. No, no, no. There we go. Alright. Then I'll just copy this. Wheel right front. I think it was 61. Yeah. Alright, and then wheel left back, copied over to the right back. And right back. There we go. Alright. So Ivan asks, he really wants to know how he can make, how can I make my pack car? So if you have a model, so if you actually create a model, that's the hardest part in terms of, I guess, getting started, right? If you want to use UNU parts, there are entire chassis that you can use that will make that a lot easier, so you don't have to like worry about all the individual parts and stuff. So if you have an actual like model that is textured and ready to get into game, if you want to use UNU parts, I can help you with that. Okay, so this is what we've got going on here. So I made the save. So we got the wheels in the back, we got the wheels in the front, all the suspension stuff ready to roll. So now we want to mate everything here. So let's do that. All right. All right. Will UNU have any civilian airliners? At some point, yes. I would love to make some UNU civilian airliners. The UNU Navigator is kind of, I think it's only in the military pack. I need to make a civilian version of that. That's kind of a civilian airliner. But also, I have like, I want to make the de Havilland Comet. I have like several other vehicles and stuff that I want to make. Unfortunately, I'm not as enthusiastic about airplanes as I am about cars. So that's kind of why, like, there aren't a bunch of airplanes, is I'm just, like, not that into airplanes compared to cars, right? That's also why the UNU military pack is kind of lackluster. You know, what's in the UNU military pack? Some cars, like the Jeep and the Mule and stuff like that. Because that's what I like. That's what I'm into, right? And so that's mostly why that's the stuff that gets made, is that's what I like. The UNU military pack is receiving a pretty cohesive update, because there are people on UNU, Laura, Cactus, Athena, who all are very enthusiastic about weapons and military stuff. And so they've been making they've been making military content, and I've been implementing it. So, frick. So, yeah, that's kind of the deal. I mean, even the UNU Navigator is made by Cactus, so eventually there will be some airliner stuff, but I wouldn't hold my breath because, like I said, I like cars. All right. UNU Concorde. Wouldn't that look weird? Someone's not an old head. There was an UNU Concorde at one point. It was like way bigger than the actual Concorde once you actually loaded it in game. It was like the size of It was like a Concorde scaled up to where the fuselage was the size of a passenger airliner. So the thing was huge. Yeah, the UNU Swift. The JSON is actually still in the pack. You can enable it by adding a .json extension to it. Okay. Alright, let's edit, select all visible parts. Reverse selection. I'm going to save again. And then I can make everything visible. So that's kind of where the frame wants to sit, right? Because that's like on the chassis there. Alright, well, let's see here. Let's go and delete this old frame, not like I'm actually going to use it. An UNU version of the Chrysler turbine car. That is something I definitely want to do. I love the Chrysler turbine car. It's one of my favorite prototype cars. But so yeah, that's something that is on the like Laura said, it's in the sponsorship queue. It is something I would like to do. All right. So what is going on here? Why is it like clipping through the body on here? I thought the frame was all like flat. I thought this lined up with the I guess it hangs down 1 pixel. UNU Jetstream, that's a good name for it. Let me see, does it have a name? Hashtag sponsor a vehicle. Where is it? There it is. UNU turbine car. Yeah, this is gonna be called the UNU turbine. But Jetstream's a good name. I'll add that as like a potential name for it. Congratulations, Fauna Fox Productions. You've had a very small impact on UNU. Not trying to downplay it, but not many people have any impact. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do here. Well, let's pull that mule model back up. Let's see what I've got going on over there. So the frame here is 6. So on the outside it's 8. Okay. So let's try narrowing up the frame and see if that helps my situation. I keep selecting both sides. Because then this would be like the mule width, which I guess thematically makes more sense. Alrighty. I think that's narrower than the Mastodon frame was. I think that it would make the most sense for the frame to be that wide, right there. And then this front portion can just be shorter, I guess. So where is this? This is 11. Is the other one 12? Okay, then I'll just leave it as is. It's not worth... Well, I should leave it right here and then have it widen out a bit. Okay. There we go. I don't even know why I'm keeping those front pieces as if I'm going to use them. Alright. I'll go ahead and just... Nah, not yet. So we'll go ahead and narrow this up here. I keep selecting both sides as if I can narrow them both at the same time. Okay. Edit, select all visible parts. Parts, make all parts visible. Alright. So now I think we're getting somewhere. So now that actually sits pretty well on there. Alright. Not too bad so far. Let's go ahead and clean up this front here and then we'll get into it. I think I'm just going to have to move the front bumper forward a bit. There we go. Let's do that right there. Delete these guys. I like it. It's a little goofy with how far forward the bumper is, but I think that kind of fits. Alright, so then, yeah, we can just do this here. There we go. We got the front bumper done. Okay. So you appreciate how intricate UNU is compared to other MTS. Not saying there aren't good ones, but hey, you could say there aren't good ones. I'm just joking. I think every pack brings, like everyone. There's this idea that so like I have a character, Derek Amison, right? And he's like the UNU representative, and he's a meme. He's a joke. That's the whole point. And so he's like always goes out there and says that UNU's great and everything else is trash. And there are people that think that that's genuinely my opinion, and it's an exaggeration of my viewpoint, because in reality, like every pack has its benefits. All right. Cool. So I think I can just put this battery in here sideways and it'll work. But yeah, UNU definitely has its strengths over other packs. That's undeniable. But yeah, so I appreciate the enthusiasm of acknowledging UNU's superiority. And that's a joke. A joke based in facts. Alright. Now that I got all the UNU haters upset, we could continue. Okay, that is true. Like the MTS arms race is so intense that like even the most basic packs are still really good just because of the intensity of the competition. Okay, now it's time to scoot the bed back because this is a little goofy for a truck. So we'll go ahead and get all that started here. Start finalizing. So I don't want to make the rear end narrower because that would mess up truck beds. Right now, every single UNU truck is the same width on the back, which is great because that makes it so that the beds are fully interchangeable. But I don't think I can make the UNU Mastodon that much wider without it looking totally goofy. So I might make the front narrower, which isn't like crazy. So if you want to enable the Swift, warning, it hasn't been updated for a long time, so it might not even work. But in the UNU civilian jar, there will be it's either a text file or a file with no extension that's called the UNU Swift. It'll be like UNU civil underscore plain underscore UNU underscore Swift. And then if you add a .json at the end of it, it'll turn it into a JSON file and it'll load into the game. I have a few like abandoned models that are still in there as Easter eggs. But like I said, the wheels might not spawn because I think the name changed. So, and it might not. I mean, MTS is actually really good with maintaining backwards compatibility with its legacy compats, but just be warned, it might be a little goofy. Alright, edit, select all visible parts, make all parts visible. Alright, now we're looking good. And look at that, the engine is 1 pixel higher in relation to the chassis. So yeah, I think I'm just going to go with a cool 32 here. So then what I could do is I could shift everything forward and I just have to add 2 to everything in the JSON. Alright. It's up 2. Look at that. Okay. Whoops. Wrong thing. Alright. So, you're an absolute noob. How do you access the jar file? So, this is your mod right here. I have WinRAR installed because I'm a boomer. You can also use 7-zip or something like that. And then that'll actually allow you to go into the jar and open it. If you can't do that, what you can do is you can rename it. I think it's file name extensions. You're going to want to have that checked so that you can rename the jar to a .zip, and then you can open it like a zip folder because all the jar is a zip folder. And then once you have that, you can go into it. Okay. Now don't worry about this. This is just part of the whole bed system, so that's actually not going to be there in the in the end product. Cool, we're getting pretty close here. All right. I'm actually gonna do this here. So that lines up freaking perfect. All right. There we go. And there's the frame kind of narrowing down for the front. All right. I think going back over. Whoops, that's the that's the PNG. It's an NFT of the UNU Mule there. I go ahead and copy these engine mounts from the UNU Mule. Boom, ba-dum, boom. All right, so there we go. I think we're pretty friggin' close. All right. So now it's the fun part of actually massaging these fenders. Surprisingly, I don't think these fenders are going to need to be modified. I was thinking I'd have to make them taller. I might just scoot them in and leave them as is. That way, the parts are completely interchangeable. That way, if you have custom Mastodon fenders and you want to use them on the Mastodon XL, you can. What am I doing? I have these as separate parts. One meme that's been stuck in my head rent free for the past few days is Jesus Christ shredding for your sins listening to Even Flow by Pearl Jam. And so not only is the song stuck in my head, but like when I think of the song, I think of like the Jesus avatar freaking going everywhere. Alright, edit parts, make all parts visible. So let's see how this looks here. So if I bring this all the way in, it's a little too close there. I don't like that. But if I make it line up, that's not too bad. I kind of like that. I think that works. I think that works. So how far in is that? 17. So that's 5 in. So I have to reduce this by 10. Reduce this by 5. And 10. Just make sure that worked out. Oh, it's... Alright. Beautiful. Alright. Right front. Oh man, I got 5 more minutes left for the schedule. Okay, edit, select all visible parts, reverse selection, make all parts visible. Alright, and I think this might line up with the back wheels over here. Ah, one off, one off. I'm gonna set up a double check that. Yep, the front is just 1 pixel narrower than the inside track on the back. Now the big question, where to put these guys? Every UNU vehicle needs its ID tag. Well, I could put it like down here, but then they would come off with the fender skirts, and that wouldn't be very cool. Could put them here on the cowl, but I have to shrink them down a lot. This is an interesting conundrum. I think I will just put them on the running board fender area. Right there. Alright, don't mind these. These are for compatibility, but I think this is it. What's this going on here? Something I forgot to delete. Oh yeah, I gotta see here. Well, that actually lines up not too bad. Alright, there we go. So the steering wheel angle is going to be a little different, but I think that's fine. Small price to pay for fashion. Alright, so now it's time just to clean up the texture. I'm going to export this as a texture file. Hopefully it actually works this time, but I saved it. So. Okay. Then we're going to export as a texture file template. Then we're going to use this to crop out anything that is unused. We're going to add the new Blackthorn emblem. And the seat. I don't think the seats are in there. But they should be. Do that. Alright, so now I have to put the seats in because I guess I left those out. Let's hope one of these mastodons in here has a seat model. Oops. There we go. Look at that, first try. And select all visible parts. Perfect. Because those seats, like I said, they get deleted when I bring it into MTS, but that's there for flange mod support. Alright, now the exhaust, which I almost forgot, and this drive shaft. Alright, I think for the exhaust, let's see what the four AA's got for exhaust. Let's go all the way to the back. This one doesn't. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna have it go down and then cut off like right back here. That way I don't have to scale it with the truck bed. So we'll go ahead and which means I have to do that whole texture deal again, but whatever. Okay. Ah, yeah, so, yeah, Fauna says that she remembers playing TEOM and seeing the Swift engine in the JEI menu, but thought it was a new update. Yeah, the Swift engine, um, because of how parts work, I just left it in there in case other people wanted to use it as a part. Jet engines are pretty specific. Alright, so now to file, export as texture file. Do this all again. File, export as template. I just like to crop out of the unnecessary textures whenever I can. Alrighty. And now I think it's done. Let me just kind of run through. Don't need those anymore. That was an old MTS thing. Alright. Not too bad, I'd say. Not the most complicated thing ever, but definitely had its, oh, this clips a little bit. I think I'll just leave that. I'm not super concerned. Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and fix this, make this proper. I won't have to tweak the texture though, because I can make this work. Alrighty. Easy dubs, easy dubs. Alright. Well, that's pretty good. 8 minutes over. Not too shabby. Let me just make sure that everything is pretty kosher. I think the light bar here is part of the bumper part. So that might cause some problems when I go to do the JSON and stuff because I moved this bumper forward. So I might have to make the headlight bar a separate part or something. I'll figure that one out once I get there. Maybe I'll just make the XL bumper just have a variable or something that pushes the bumper forward, or I'll make the headlights their own thing. But yeah, there it is, the UNU Mastodon XL. It'll be compatible with all the regular UNU truck beds. that you would expect it to be. And yeah, and then it has the new vintage tires on it. Of course, it will be compatible with the base Bud wheels as well. These wheels are actually provide more clearance. Oh, I have to shorten this guy up too. There we go. So yeah, these wheels actually provide more clearance on the drum when compared to the regular Bud wheels. Let me just go ahead and check that, just make sure, because yeah, it reduced how dished they are. So yeah, there's actually more clearance in there for the drum. So yeah, it'll be fully compatible with everything UNU truck related. There's even clearance for the wider tires in there. But yeah, so that'll be the conclusion of this stream. I enjoy everyone who tuned in. It's always fun to talk about stuff as I go through it and answer any questions you have regarding UNU stuff. I'll probably do another stream where I JSON it, but as for the modeling, that's that.